Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise for the national anthem? Please be seated. Good afternoon and welcome to the 2026 Duke-NUS graduation and hooding ceremony. To our 26 graduates, this celebration is yours, and we are gathered for you to send you off with our best wishes along with some final thoughts. To the families and friends of our graduates, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you in this auditorium alongside our guests joining from live streaming rooms upstairs. And to the individual and institutional pillars of our community and our esteemed guests, may I extend a grateful welcome for giving today the significance that it deserves with your presence. We have with us our guest of honor, Madam Rahayu Mahzam, Minister of State, Ministry of Digital Development and Information, and the Ministry of Health. Our keynote speaker, Professor Robert Califf, Duke University School of Medicine. Professor Mary Klotman, Executive Vice President for Health Affairs at Duke University and the Dean of the Duke University School of Medicine. Professor Aaron Thien, Provost, National University of Singapore. Professor Ng-Wai Ho, Group CEO of Sing Health. Mr. Goh Yu Lin, Duke-NUS Chair Governing, sorry, I'm just all over the place tonight. Group CEO of Duke-NUS Governing Board Chair. Mr. Tony Chu, Founding Chair of the Duke-NUS Governing Board. Duke-NUS Governing Board members, Professor Patrick Tan, Dean of Duke-NUS, deans, faculty, distinguished guests, and colleagues. Thank you all for being here. My name is Shiva Sarafyazi, and as Vice Dean of Education, I have the privilege of hosting today's ceremony. To begin our program, may I please invite Professor Patrick Tan to share his first graduation welcome address as Dean of Duke-NUS.
Thank you very much, Shiva. So good afternoon to everybody. Let me highlight a few of the very special individuals joining us today. Guest of honor, Madam Rahayu Mahzam, Minister of State for two ministries, the Ministry of Digital Development and Information and the Ministry of Health. Thank you for coming today. Our keynote speaker, Professor Rob Califf from the Duke School of Medicine, Professor Aaron Thien, the Provost, National University of Singapore, Professor Mary Klotman, Executive Vice President for Health Affairs at Duke, Dean of the Duke School of Medicine, Professor Ng-Wai Ho, Group CEO of Sing Health, Mr. Goh Yu Lin, Duke-NUS Governing Board Chair, Mr. Tony Chu, Founding Chair of the Duke-NUS Governing Board, members of the Duke-NUS Governing Board, distinguished guests, faculty, family, friends, and most importantly, the class of 2026. I'm going to ask you to clap at some point. It's my great privilege to welcome all of you to today's special event, which is the graduation and hooding ceremony of the Duke-NUS Medical School of 2026. This is a special and remarkable occasion for many reasons. Firstly, for our graduates, it marks the end of one demanding chapter. From your first lesson in the lead room to practical sessions in the procedural lab, rounds in the wards, You've spent countless hours mastering not just clinical skills, but knowledge and how to learn how to care and advocate for your patients. Some of you, and the PhDs and the master students, many of you have spent countless hours in the research lab, planning experiments, analyzing data, troubleshooting that odd experiment that never quite seems to work until you finally see that fateful bend and getting that clinical set of results. This takes grit, resilience, and courage, and you've done well. So I want to ask everybody to give an applause to our graduates and give all of you a pat on the back. But this is just the first step for many of you. Many of you will go into your further careers. The road will not be easy, and you will face many challenges that will ask and stretch even more of you. But I'm confident that your time at Duke-NUS and the time we've spent with you has prepared you well for this next phase of your chapter. But you're not alone. For your families and loved ones, it's a day of pride, relief, and I think we thank you for all the long nights, support, and the maybe food deliveries that you brought to be able to sustain all of our students. Your presence, your family, your support for your loved ones, this is a pillar of strength for our graduates, and the momentous milestone today belongs not just to the graduates, but to all of you. And in fact, I think in terms of family, some of you have actually expanded. So I understand in the class there have been 4 to 5 new babies coming into this class. So we are contributing to our country's TFR. And obviously for me, it's meaningful because this is my first graduation ceremony as Dean of Duke-NUS. It's a great privilege, and I want to celebrate all of you and thank you on behalf of my entire Duke-NUS team for placing your trust in the school. Let me give you a few numbers. Today, we recognize 135 graduates, which is our largest graduating cohort to date. These are 78 students from the MD and the MD-PhD class, 38 PhD programs, 19 from the Masters in Patient Safety and Healthcare Quality. What's amazing is that each of you came to Duke-NUS by a different route. Some from science and engineering, from healthcare, the humanities, business, teaching and accounting, and many other fields. Very, very different backgrounds. But you leave today with something in common, not just a degree that has the Duke-NUS logo on it, but a culture and a way of thinking that I want to spend a little bit of time talking about. So this is what Duke-NUS was created to do. When the school was established, the aim by the Singapore government wasn't just to establish just another medical school. It was to create an entity that is different by design, graduate entry, research-intensive medical school that brings together the best of East and West, Duke and NUS, but also embedded very deeply in Singapore's healthcare system through SingHealth, our key academic partner. In fact, it's very fitting today that we celebrate this event in academia, which is the heart of our academic medicine partnership. This building, a bridge between SingHealth and the school, is more than just a venue. It's a living physical testament that education, research, clinical, and innovation are not separate fields, but can combine together to ultimately to improve healthcare for every individual. We meet here, we challenge each other, and we work together, lives are improved. I'm going to cite a few people that I want to re-acknowledge and celebrate. So the families of our loved ones and graduates, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, you've encouraged, waited, worried, and celebrated, and your support to all of you. So can you please give a round of applause to all the family members? To all our faculty and staff, mentors, and clinical educators, many of you are in the room here, thank you for teaching, guiding, and shaping this class. We're honored to have with us our guest of honor, Madam Rahayu Mazam. Madam Rahayu's work at Ministry of Health, covering many different aspects ranging from community care, maternal health, healthcare financing, healthy living, speaks directly to the future our graduates are entering, and also her role in MDDI, looking at how AI can shape the future of Singapore, is especially relevant. The priorities of Singapore are shifting towards prevention, population health, and I think some of them will be mentioned in Madam Rahayu's speech. But these are not abstract policy themes. These are real-world conditions that will touch the lives of every Singaporean. And so this is the entity that all of you will enter in which you'll practice, research, lead, and serve. I want to highlight a few other very special individuals that we're honored to have today. We're honored to have Professor Rob Califf as our keynote speaker. Rob has been connected with Duke-NUS right from the beginning, and his career in cardiology, clinical trials, regulation, and public service shows that how you can balance the career from clinical service to research to policy decisions underpinned by robust scientific evidence. In fact, I would say every single individual who has a heart attack, the management, Rob has touched the lives of all of these individuals in some way. So thank you very much, Rob, for coming today. Yes, let me clap. Let's clap. I also want to pay a lot of respect to Professor Suki Chi, who will lead in reciting the Hippocratic Oath, and who played so an important role in the early development of academic medicine in Singapore. Despite his busy clinical service, Prof. Su still comes to teach our students every week in order to, in the not just the practice of medicine, but the conduct of medicine, and this has been really inspirational. And in fact, I also want to highlight that Prof. Su, the students nominated you for this particular role today. So thank you very much for coming today. Professor Thomas Kaufman. Under Tom's thoughtful and steady leadership over the past decade as the previous Dean of Duke-NUS, Tom has been a personal mentor to me and has worked with all the different parties to strengthen the school's education, research, and academic mission, and graduated 10 classes of students. So I also want to thank Tom for being here today. So I think I'm highlighting this list of people not just because of their great accomplishments, but this tells us something about Duke-NUS, that all of us are built upon connections, about who we know, the networks, the skill sets that we bring across institutions, disciplines, countries. And that connectedness also influences your student behavior. How do you find a research project? How can that research finding lead to a clinical trial that can lead to an innovation? And how can the innovation ultimately shape national priorities and policies? So that the class of 2026, this is the culture that you inherit, a culture that can ask, why are things the way they are, and what evidence do we need to test that hypothesis? Who is not being served well enough? And what can we do about it to make things better for all? This is not just a mindset reserved for the future and current clinician scientists in the room, but it matters to every doctor who listens carefully to a patient's story where the patient's management doesn't quite fit the usual pattern. It manages to every researcher that sees data that doesn't quite fit, prompting the pursuit of new questions. And ultimately, for those in patient safety and health quality, it involves looking at the processes, asking the hard questions, are we doing things appropriately? And so making sure that harm is prevented as much as possible. So I'm going to close by offering one lesson from my own journey as a message to all of the students here. If I have one lesson, it is stay curious, ask the right questions, and be the change that you want to see. Now, I'm going to unpack that in my last stage. Curiosity is great, but curiosity on its own is not enough. The ability to frame that curiosity in a question that can be asked, that you can generate evidence to answer that question, that's the basis behind research-based thinking. In healthcare, also, the most important questions are rarely only scientific or clinical. They're also based upon humanity, based upon systems thinking. What does this person need? What does this family care about? And what is the system missing? This spirit of community, of humanism, is also very visible in the class beyond the research. We see this in Project Dove Nepal, started by Cheryl Quek and Charles Yeh with the Peace Child Ministry, where Duke-NUS students sought to understand why certain women in Nepal have a very high incidence of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. We see it in Chan Kai Lin, another student who founded the Women in Medicine Student Interest Group to build a supportive community around mentorship and career development. In our PhD graduates, including Kunal Mishra, that you'll hear from later, this work combines computational AI and wet lab approaches to study chronic kidney disease. And in our masters and patient safety and graduates, whose work tells us that better care doesn't stop but always needs to work further to develop better systems, clearer communication, and perhaps more importantly, the courage to call out things that could be improved. So together, you will represent the full breadth of Duke-NUS, doctors, researchers, clinician scientists, healthcare quality leaders, educators, innovators, and systems thinking. Very different, starting, common culture, and I hope that as you leave the school, you carry on the same concept to keep asking what better could look like and take and lean in and take ownership of it. So in closing, I would say to you, be excellent, but stay humble. Be evidence-based, but stay human. Be ambitious, but remain grounded in purpose. And when you see something that can be improved, do not walk past it. On behalf of Duke-NUS Medical School, many congratulations to the class of 2026. We are all very proud of you, and we believe in all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean, for your heartfelt message. It's now my pleasure to introduce our guest of honor, Madam Rahayu Mahsam, Minister of State, the Ministry of Digital Development and Information, and the Ministry of Health. In these roles, Madam Rahayu shaped significant, timely national priorities, from the ministry's digital inclusivity efforts to financing healthcare, promoting healthy lifestyles, and advocating for child and maternal health. Across her legal career and public service, Madam Rahayu has been a steadfast advocate for families, for persons with special needs, for multiracial harmony, and for a more inclusive, compassionate society. At Duke-NUS, advocacy and compassionate care define the graduates we aspire to send off into the world. So, Madam Rahayu, it is indeed a privilege to welcome you as an exemplar of these values to address our graduating class. Madam Rahayu, please.
Professor Patrick Tan, Dean of Duke-NUS Medical School, Duke-NUS faculty and staff, graduates and family members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. It is a joy to be here with you. As I look around the auditorium, I see graduates who have poured years of dedication and hard work to reach this moment. I see families filled with pride. I see professors and educators who have walked alongside the graduates, shaping them into who they are today. This is truly a special day. Today, we're celebrating your achievements. To the graduates, you are about to embark on the next chapter of your career in healthcare, research, and innovation. What I find remarkable is how different your backgrounds and paths are. Many of you came from fields outside medicine entirely, engineering, the sciences, or other professions. And while your journey here have taken different forms, you are all united by a common purpose: to make healthcare better, whether at the bedside, in the lab, or through improving the systems that patients depend on. You're joining healthcare at a pivotal juncture. Singapore, like many countries worldwide, faces a rapidly aging population. According to the United Nations, a country with 21% or more of its population aged 65 and above is considered super-aged. This year, Singapore has crossed that mark and become a super-aged society. By 2030, we expect 1 in 4 Singaporeans to be 65 and above. This demographic shift requires a fundamental change in how we deliver healthcare, where a key part of this is the shift from treating illness to preventing it. To this end, we have rolled out national initiatives focused on keeping our population in good health. Healthier SG is a national movement that encourages preventive care such as health screenings, vaccinations, and proactive management of chronic diseases. This helps people in the community identify and manage health issues early, preventing or delaying disease progression. Better chronic disease control reduces complications, reduces the need for hospitalizations, and improves the quality of life. Launched in July 2023, Healthier SG now has more than 1.4 million enrolled participants, more than 1,100 primary care partners, including private general practitioners, GPs, and polyclinics. So as you meet patients and their families, please encourage them to enroll in Healthier SG. To further support our seniors, Age Well SG was also launched in 2023 to help seniors age actively, stay socially connected, and be cared for within the community. Through Age Well SG, we have expanded our network of active aging centres with over 230 centres island-wide, serving as touch points for seniors to stay physically and socially active. We are building on these efforts to bring enhanced care and health services and senior-friendly infrastructure closer to where seniors live under the Age Well Neighbourhoods initiative, in neighbourhoods with a higher concentration of seniors, like in Toa Payoh. More recently, we launched Grow Well SG in January 2025. Preventive care must also start from young. To this end, Grow Well SG empowers families with support from preschools and schools, healthcare institutions, and the community to build healthy habits in children which can carry through to adulthood, bringing long-term health benefits. We have rolled out initiatives to address 5 key areas important to children's health and well-being: eat well, sleep well, learn well, exercise well, and bond well. Duke-NUS has been contributing to our preventive care strategy. Research by Duke-NUS found that Singapore's Nutri-Grade labelling requirements launched in 2022 encourages consumers to choose beverages with lower sugar content, with participants in the study opting for drinks with measurably less sugar per serving. With these promising results, the Health Promotion Board is extending Nutri-Grade labelling requirements to key sources of sodium and saturated fat, including pre-packed salt, sauces, seasonings, cooking oil, and instant noodles, to help reduce the risk of hypertension and high cholesterol among Singaporeans. This is just one example of how Duke-NUS research has supported national policy, and we look forward to working more closely with the school through their health services research and population health program, which aims to inform and support national policies, improving patient outcomes and delivering more cost-effective care. Care delivery is also continuously evolving to address emerging challenges. Healthcare manpower, from doctors to nurses to allied health professionals and community care workers, is expanding, with some also changing roles as we shift healthcare away from hospitals and towards the community. Our public hospitals too are transforming how they are organized to provide more consolidated care. One way is through introducing clinical teams led by a principal doctor. These doctors lead unified care teams who will develop a single, clear, and coordinated care plan for each patient. Principal doctors need not be specialists, but also include hospital clinicians who are equipped with a broader breadth of clinical expertise. All of this requires doctors who have a good balance between deep and broad-based expertise, who consider systems impact, who can walk across boundaries and adapt changes when necessary. And this is exactly what your Duke-NUS training has prepared you for. As you begin your careers, you may face challenges and complex situations which will test both skill and character. However, you are not alone in this journey. The Ministry of Health and our healthcare clusters are committed to ensuring that every one of you works in a supportive environment. Systems and processes have been put in place to support you. Importantly, we advocate for a safe and respectful workplace with zero tolerance of any form of abuse and harassment towards healthcare staff. This commitment is signalled clearly with the launch of the Tripartite Framework for the Prevention of Abuse and Harassment in Healthcare in December 2023. We now have Chief Wellness Officers in every healthcare cluster to look after the well-being of all healthcare professionals, and are progressively strengthening our guidelines for junior doctors to foster healthier, more sustainable work conditions. We are also creating more diverse and fulfilling career paths for doctors in the public healthcare sector. Family physicians will anchor primary and community-based care. Hospital clinicians will retain broader-based competencies across multiple domains, and specialists will deepen their expertise in specific disciplines while also maintaining a broad scope of practice. We have also formally recognized family medicine as a specialty, acknowledging the depth of knowledge and skill that family physicians bring to caring for increasingly complex patients in the community. In closing, I would like to ask you to always keep in mind why you chose this path to be a doctor. Some of you changed careers to be here. Others balanced studies with work and family. The dedication it took to reach this moment is in itself a testament to the kind of doctor you will be. Maybe it was a family member who was ill. Maybe you saw a gap that needed filling. Maybe you simply wanted to help people. Whatever brought you here, hold on to that calling. It will guide you through difficult moments and be your greatest source of strength. Because healthcare is ultimately about people, and the best doctors never lose sight of that. Congratulations to the class of 2026, and to all the families here. The success belongs to you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Madame Arroyo, for this very warm, thoughtful, and forward-looking address, as well as your efforts at the ministry. It is now an honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Robert Califf. Professor Califf is a distinguished cardiologist, as you all heard, a clinical researcher, and academic leader from Duke University. He has served not once, but twice as Commissioner of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, leading efforts to advance public health, to regulate food, tobacco, and medical products, and to promote evidence-based decision-making. At Duke, Professor Califf was a founding director of the Duke Clinical Research Institute, one of the world's leading academic clinical research organizations. He has contributed significantly to clinical and translational research, and with over 1,300 publications, he knows a thing or two about how evidence is generated and applied to patient care. With a career spanning medicine, research, regulation, policy, and public health, Dr. Califf brings a deeply informed perspective to an evolving healthcare landscape. We look forward to his insights as our graduates strive to not only excel at their work in healthcare, but also, through humanistic medicine and science, work towards a better future. Dr. Califf, please.
Thanks so much. Guests of honor, Madame Raihu, Mesdames, distinguished university and healthcare leaders, members of the Duke-NUS Governing Board, deans, faculty, colleagues, graduates, and guests. I want to thank Dean Kaufman and Dean Tan especially, along with the other leaders who have invited me back to Singapore to deliver this commencement address at such a meaningful time in the lives of graduates, their parents, other family members, and friends. And it's such an exciting but unpredictable time for biomedicine and healthcare, and for this medical school. I know the last thing you need at this point is a long and boring speech, and believe me, in 5 years in Washington, D.C., I've heard a lot of those. You deserve a moment to absorb the value of the hard work and amazing opportunity that has resulted in your graduation today. Let's have another round of applause and a shout out, first to the graduates. But now let's hear it from the graduates to the parents and families. This medical school exists at the interface of very different histories and cultures, the United States and Singapore. What a chance for mutual learning. And from everything I've seen in my return visit here, you've made the best of it. As a country boy from South Carolina, Singapore was always a faraway and mysterious place to me. But one of your many wise leaders, Professor Tan Chor Chuan, took care of any misperceptions that I had when he visited Duke and described the need for a joint effort on a new medical school over 20 years ago. Singapore has a proven history of excellence in medicine and a culture that values and yields a long and healthy life. And the mission has been to preserve those core values while blending them with the innovative spark of discovery and biomedical science. And I'm so pleased to acknowledge that this medical school has filled the expected role in biomedical science and its application to medicine. Since my initial visit to Singapore over 20 years ago, I think it's fair to say that I've learned a lot more from Singapore than it has learned from me. You're fortunate to be here in a remarkable country that has set the pace for the potential for global peace, prosperity, and health. And now you have the best that Singapore and the U.S. can offer, a great education and a set of core values that can ground you as you embark on a critical profession in a rapidly changing world. As I was thinking about this, I looked at your website, and right there on the website for your medical school is your core mission: to provide innovative education and impactful research that transforms the practice of medicine in Singapore and beyond. This is said to be the essence of a clinician-first, clinician-plus model, clinical care and science grounded in the well-being of the patient. The values of the institution include, first, courage, daring to challenge the status quo in the fast-evolving and increasingly complex world. More than preparing for the future, the value is in shifting paradigms and creating a better future. And I was really thrilled to hear the previous two speakers really lay this out quite well. The second is integrity, honoring honesty and accountability as the foundation for practice and relationships. The third is compassion, beginning with care for human lives and acting with the intent for the betterment of humanity. And then finally, collaboration, embracing diversity for the breadth and depth of expertise that enable the forging of new discoveries and possibilities. These are lofty concepts for a solid foundation. I'll come back to them after I describe some exciting and unsettling changes in our global ecosystem that provide a context for thinking about how to practice the values I've just reviewed with you. You're graduating in the midst of at least three enormous trends, I call them mega trends, that are disrupting the ground under the feet of traditional medicine. After decades of gradual transformation of our understanding of health and disease, I think of it like building an airplane. For the last 20 years, it's been accelerating down the runway, and now we're moving at an astounding speed towards a destination that we must define together. The first disruptive megatrend is the science. The combination of biological knowledge, advanced engineering, and computational science has entirely disrupted our understanding of health and disease. I still remember the old adage I heard on my first day as a student at Duke Medical School. Half of what you learn in medical school will turn out to be wrong. We just don't know which half. And if we take our understanding of appetite and nutrition as an example, it seems fair to say that we knew very little until the discovery and availability of GLP-1 drugs, which, when administered to human beings, have unraveled entire pathways that we didn't know existed that connect the gut to the brain. But we're only at the front edge of this transformational change. We can approach rare diseases that were untreatable. The ability to identify biological targets has improved dramatically, leading to a whole new era of pharmacology. The engineering prowess is leading to devices that can provide function for individuals that were previously thought to be irretrievable and diagnose complex diseases with continuously declining cost of goods. We're now moving into the era of brain science and the integration of data in a way that enables an understanding of how people interact in society. The potential to improve human health is not bounded by technology now, and you will be the experts who can develop and use this technology to improve health. The second disruptive megatrend is more complex, the combination of computation, social media, and artificial intelligence. You've probably seen that the mention of AI in U.S. university commencement addresses has been met with loud boos, and I'm glad I didn't get boos here today. Although some might argue it's just a part of computation, I believe that AI and social media deserve their own places in a depiction of biomedicine and where it's headed. I had an awesome experience working at Alphabet, the parent company of Google, between 2017 and 2022. As vast as Google's computational capacity was in those days, the sense that something dramatic and different was about to happen, and was in the air. In fact, I'm proud to say that I worked with 3 people that went on to win the Nobel Prize for their computational developments. Now we're in the midst of a remarkable change to large language models, generative and agentic AI, and quantum computing. Even the people inventing the technology, those who I knew in those days, still don't completely understand how it works or where it might lead us. In my view, the technology itself will continue to evolve, so that's not the issue. The issue is that it's within our control to control the purpose of these powerful tools. AI offers an unprecedented opportunity to solve complex problems, and social media can unite or divide people at scale. If we think of AI as a simple equation with a left-hand side and a right-hand side, the right-hand side, also known as the independent or input variables, can now include as much information as exists in words and images on the entire internet. But the big question, in my view, is what's on the left-hand side, also known as the dependent or output variable? What is it that we're solving for? If all we solve for is the financial well-being and efficiency of the entity that we work for, whether it's a clinical practice, health system, university, or nation, we'll continue to exacerbate the large and growing disparities in health outcomes. In the midst of an algorithm-driven, financialized world and health system, we need to speak up to balance financial outcomes with human well-being. It would be folly to not prioritize finances, but it's inhumane to subjugate improvement of health status, longevity, and well-being to a distant second place in the equation. As our computational capacity and analytical power increases at an unfathomable rate, we need to have the courage to speak up for human need as a key part of that dependent variable. If we assume, and I believe it's a good assumption, that everything that can be done better with AI algorithms will be done that way, what is left? The answer is humanitarian and fundamental human values that are at the core of medicine, nursing, and biomedical science. The third megatrend, and one that we cannot ignore, is the international strife that stands in the way of progress and the well-being of the world's population. The Duke-NUS School of Medicine is a prime example of the good that comes when people from different countries and different cultures identify common aspirations and values. Singapore is in many ways the gateway between the West and the East, and your composite culture sets an admirable example. But there are dark clouds of discord in many parts of the world and a growing sense of instability among the countries with the most ability to create violent conflict. Biomedical science and healthcare can be a bridge. Disease doesn't respect boundaries, and you have the opportunity to be the guides to the future of our common humanity. From my perspective, the critical point is this: whether this time of change and profound uncertainty will result in a dramatic improvement in the human condition or in a destructive time depends on how we act as individuals and groups to guide the system towards human benefit. I've had the good fortune to go from a childhood in the rural South of the United States to a career exposing me to amazing science, life-saving technology, and wonderful people all over the world. As you go through your daily lives in your chosen career, you have a special position as an expert. And with that position comes a responsibility to use your talents to the benefit of others. The core values that led to the excellence of Singaporean medicine should be honored. And I would submit the practice of the Duke-NUS core values, courage, integrity, compassion, and collaboration, should enable you to guide the system, your clinical teams, and your patients to a better future. The neurosurgeon and TV personality, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, said it well recently. Instead of being someone who's struggling to memorize the past, become someone who is changing the future. Respect history, but don't be afraid to make some. This is the dream, in my view, of the Duke-NUS School of Medicine, and you will now have the honor of turning that dream into reality. Thanks again for the privilege of coming back to Singapore at a time of your graduation and the transition from one outstanding dean to another. And I can assure you, based on my meeting yesterday, your new dean has a great vision for the future that will improve the lives and health of individuals and populations in Singapore and beyond. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Caleb, for that deep insight that serves today and informs what's next, keeping our values always up front and center. Now, inspired by reflections from our leaders and speakers, it gives me great pleasure to invite our Duke-NUS MD PhD alumna from the class of 2025, Dr. Catherine Nay Yong, to present the graduating class and their ceremonial hooders. Catherine, please.
Thank you, Dr. Shiva. I'm deeply honored to have been invited to present our graduating class today. Today, we celebrate the graduation of the 12th cohort of the MD PhD and PhD graduates and who joined the 16th cohort of the MD class at this hooding ceremony. May I first invite Professor Pierce Chow on stage to commence with the PhD program in Clinical and Translational Sciences hooding. I would also like to invite our guest of honor, Madam Rahayu Mazam, to present the scrolls, and our Dean, Professor Patrick Tan, to present the certificate holders. Please join us on stage. We now present the PhD graduates together with their research supervisors or ceremonial hooders. Firstly, we have Ang Ting Leong and Professor Ian Tan Bee Huat. Chen Hui Lionel Raphael and Professor Ian Tan Bee Huat. Han Ting Ing Tira and Professor Ian Tan Bee Huat. Oh Chun Chet and Dr. Sarada Bochan. Thank you, Professor Pierce Chow. It is now my pleasure to invite Professor Silke Vogel on stage to commence the PhD hooding for programs in Quantitative Biology and Medicine, QBM, and Integrated Biology and Medicine, IBM. I now present the PhD graduates together with the research supervisors and ceremonial hooders for the QBM program. Firstly, Kunal Mishra and Associate Professor Jacques Bermoras. Harry Park and Associate Professor Jacques Bermoras. Next up, we present the PhD program in IBM, Fatima Abdullah Muhammad Omar El Darus and Associate Professor Koji Itahana. Spandana Bodu and Associate Professor Koji Itahana. Chu Pek Lim and Professor Tay Bin Tin. Shalini Ilangovan and Professor Nicholas Graves. Maria Margaret Getchell and Professor David Macha. Ho Wan Yun and Associate Professor Ling Suo Chen. Jiang Hongyue and Assistant Professor Jin Nishiyama. Ko Jinwen Vanessa and Associate Professor Angelique Chan. Venetia Kok Ting Tong and Associate Professor Joshua Guli. Nicole Lee Min Yi and Associate Professor Adam Cledridge Cheng. Lee Chen Si and Associate Professor Koji Itahana. Lim Ming and Professor Gavin Smith. Lim Wei Kiang and Dr. Sarada Bolchan. Lin Jia En and Associate Professor Joshua Guli. Samyukta Suresh and Assistant Professor Jin Nishiyama. Tay Wan Ting and Professor David Silver. Yadanathan Nai and Professor David Silver. Tong Chi Ching and Professor Gavin Smith. Jessie Wong Ling Ai and Professor Ong Sing Tiong. Zhang Yinor and Associate Professor Liu Nan. Zhu Anqi and Professor Tazin Jafar. We now move on to present the MD PhD degrees. Firstly, Vivian Chen Chi-Wei and Professor Wang Lin Fa. Lai Wei Xuan and Professor David Macha. Martin Daniel Koki and Professor Gavin Smith. Tew Charles Kevin D and Professor Wang Lin Fa. Yan Yu Sin Yvonne and Associate Professor Joshua Guli. Thank you, Professor Silke Vogel. We will now invite Dr. Sonali Chongkai, Dr. Inisha Japar to join us on stage for the ceremonial hooding of our MD class. Firstly, we have Ang Jingyuan Andre. Sean Asahara Theo. Zhijie Vanessa. 客槽 Coco， Chan Kai Lin， Xavier Chan， Chan Yanzhi， Ashlyn Chen Jiayuan， Michael Hao Chen， Oscar Yuan Han Chen， Chen Yingjie， Lincoln Chen Zhiping， Chia Pei Yun， Chin Zhiheng Benedict， Chua Kai En Ruben， Jasper Chua Thi Long， Dakshanya Aditi Dinagaran， Fan Rongxi Scarlett， Goh Wei Rui， Nadia binti Muhammad Hamza， Rachel Hu Jiayi， Ho Mengjie， Ho Yuteng Rachel， Nor Sarah binti Ibrahim, Deborah Jasmine, Jiang Qianfeng, Ko Tingray Darrow, Li Ling Hong, Li Weiling Amanda, Liu Yu Ming Royston, Lim Jiajing Samuel, Bianche Lim Yilei, 刘嘉瑞 Jessica, 刘耀成、Sherry 罗志清、罗小然、Malavarapu Kirtana, Tanya Santosh Nair, Nguyen Balok, Hong Julin Jolin, Park Seong Jin, Devanshi Patidar, Mukul Prasad, Craig Chan Hong Sheriff, Suzanne K. Rocknathan, Siddharthan Meenakshi, Eldred Sung Hui Yong, So Han Chiang Rico, Elson Tan Hansen, Tan Hui In Renee, Kanisha Tanadia Adrian Tan, Tan Renjun Josiah, Tan Yue Ting Nicole, Gideon Tay Min Wen, Teo Wei Long, Tham Koi Wan, Ho Jianing Alyssa, Seng Wei Wen Rachel Marjorie, Wang Yitong, Wee Sun Nan, Pei Sandy Win Now, Wu Tingyu, Xu Qian Ian, Yan Biaoguo, Danielle Grace Yap, Yap Rosin Jacqueline, Charles Yao Rong Zhang, Justin Ho Ming Yong, last but not least from the MD class, Zahat Zahir, Thank you, Dr. Chankar and Dr. Japar. Now we will present graduates from the Master in Patient Safety and Healthcare Quality Program. Firstly, Suha Abdullah. Ang Junjie Desmond. Chung Kim Im, Injay Damanti, Radhika, daughter of Gopalan, Lee Sin Jillian, Lee Ing Chen Grace, Loy Fu Chin, Lok San San, Ong Siu Han, Muhammad Sirat Shahu Hamid, Sim Wan Chi, Hanifa binti Syed Ahmad, Teng Kwang Pu, Tazlima Uzman, last but not least, Yo Ilin. Thank you so much, Madam Rahayu and Dean. You may return to your seats. Thank you. That that concludes the presentation of our new graduates. Congratulations to everyone. Let's give everyone a round of applause again. We will now hear from two of our graduates representing the PhD and MD classes respectively. I invite Dr. Kunal Mishra, representing the PhD class, to share his reflections. Dr. Kunal, please.
Good evening, guest of honor, Madam Rahayu Mazam, Minister of State, Ministry of Digital and Development and Information, and the Ministry of Health. Our keynote speaker, Professor Robert Califf, Duke School of Medicine, Professor Patrick Tan, Dean of Duke-NUS, distinguished guests and colleagues, the graduating class of 2026, family and friends. I am delighted and honored to be here today to speak on behalf of this graduating PhD class. My name is Kunal Mishra, and I'm a newly synthesized PhD from the class of 2026. As I briefly scan the audience, I see friends from different departments, and it feels a bit surreal. For most of us, this is the culmination of many, many years of education and training. And I think that most of us will have heard the adage, a PhD is a marathon, not a sprint, and it's a journey to experience. I think most people take it to mean that it's a professional journey, that you should train, learn, grow, graduate, and find a job. When we see someone graduate, we then ask the questions, how many papers did they publish? How many conferences did they attend? And how long did they take to graduate? As if these numbers tell the whole story. But I think this is a very one-dimensional way to assess things, because it ignores the fact that a PhD is not just a professional journey, but also a highly personal one. It's very easy to get caught in the rat race, to grind and focus only on the professional aspects of the PhD. This results in tunnel vision, and we don't realize that we too are changing and growing through our work and the time that we spend in the program. What I didn't fully appreciate at the start when I joined the PhD is that we came in as a batch. We took classes as a batch. We had events, seminars, and orientations as a batch, and if you've spoken to any other PhD students in Singapore or other programs, this isn't typically the norm. And that structure gave us a sense of community at times. We were a cohort, figuring it out at the same place at the same time. And even within that community, we only ever see part of someone's story. It's only when you talk to them that you realize that people experience all sorts of things in their personal lives. People get married, they have kids, you lose loved ones, you go through deeply personal milestones, all while working on their projects and presenting like it's business as usual. Life finds a way, and so do people, quietly, without making a fuss of it. It's only once we find this out that we start to see a multi-dimensional view of a person and a much clearer picture of their journey. And I'm sure I can bring up any one of the graduates here today to share a journey that is rich, full, and deeply individual. For me, some of this richness came from unexpected places and people. I got asked some genuinely fascinating questions by my partner and my family over the years. Things like, you study macrophages, why don't we have microphages? Or if you have 2 kidneys, and kidneys are useful, then why didn't evolution give us 3 kidneys? Or this is the best one, after they found out that I worked on genetics, how close are you to rebuilding Jurassic Park? Sadly, not that close. But these questions, as funny and interesting as they are, they reminded me of something important. They reminded me that our work exists beyond the lab. The people in our lives that have been on this journey with us, even when they don't really fully understand, they're still with us in this journey. They sit with us and they ask questions that force us to remember why any of this is interesting or important in the first place. A PhD, they say, is a journey, and that's true. But a journey taken alone is just a journey. Together, it's an adventure. To the class of 2026, congratulations. I'm proud to share the stage with you and be part of this graduating cohort. Outside this room, a PhD just looks like a degree. I think inside it, we all can know and understand that it's a few years of your life given to a project that's lived in your head long after you leave the lab at 11 and you try to catch the train and you miss it when you go back home. I'd like to thank the Graduate Studies Department for keeping us on track and our mentors for teaching us to question everything and always look one layer deeper. To our families, partners, friends in the audience, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for asking the questions that we forget to ask and reminding us why any of this matters in the first place. I wish everyone here an adventure ahead. May it be long, and may you never have to walk it alone. To hear about the adventures of the MD graduating class, I'd like to invite Dr. Chen Feng, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kunal, for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chen Feng and honored to represent the Doctor of Medicine class of 2026 at today's ceremony. First, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our family, faculty, clinical and research mentors, staff from the Offices of Research and Education, and the class and student councils for your unwavering support and guidance throughout this journey. Your dedication and belief in us have made this moment possible. And today, we celebrate all that this remarkable class has accomplished. A great medical educator once said that medical school is a 4-year interview. But I would like to respectfully disagree, because it felt like 10. The class of 2026 weren't just medical students, but medical students plus. Because our lives revolved around procedures, logbooks, UWorld, and signing forms. So here we are, at least 79 readiness assessments, 63 mini CXs, 36 case-based discussions, 110 docs, 80 multi-source feedback, and 11 case analysis later. We have survived our 10-year interview compressed into 4. Oh, I just heard someone telling me you have 4 minutes left. Usually, most of us start talking nonsense after hearing this. But for tonight, I'll try to keep it together because I finally have a script. My classmates know me as the cat person, but here's what they don't know. I have been watching them over these years. And somewhere along the way, we have all become cats. Because somehow, no matter how many times we were thrown into the deep end, we always landed on our feet. And as it turned out, having 9 lives is still not enough study time. And soon, we will also realize why 3 a.m. is the most active time of the day. Despite everything, our class took on all challenges in our stride. Earlier in February, while the rest of Singapore was busy visiting homes and celebrating Chinese New Year, we were in the wards, as always, visiting beds, going from patient to patient, who were also spending the New Year away from their families. Not just preparing for our final exams, but learning that being present for someone is the real exam. Despite our hectic medical education curriculum, our class of 2026 demonstrated a deep commitment to service across diverse communities, from rural outreach programs such as Project Dearth in Nepal and Sri Lanka, to local initiatives supporting children with brain tumors, migrant workers, community health, and women's health. These experiences reminded us that medicine doesn't start and end within hospital walls, and cemented our commitment to service. However, what lies ahead demands far more of us. Being a doctor comes with responsibilities that go far beyond what most people see. No one has seen my exhaustion after responding to multiple calls to see patients in the wee hours of the morning, long after missing dinner. No one had seen the struggle of breaking difficult news to a devastated family at 3 a.m. And no one had seen the moments of uncertainty, standing at the bedside, trying to make the right decision when it was a matter of life and death. Well, no one has seen because we haven't been in a position to assume those roles yet. But soon we will be. Whatever challenges lie ahead, I'm confident that our class of 2026, a class defined by resilience, compassion, and purpose, will rise to meet them. As we move forward, let us stay true to our initial calling. Let us strive to be safe house officers, exercise sound clinical reasoning, practice good bedside manners, and document diligently, because patients are at the heart of all we do. Well, and also because unlike every other batch, our class doesn't have any ex-lawyers to bail us out if we get into trouble. At the end of the day, remember this. The half-life of the MOHH bond may be 2 years, but the half-life of our class bond is forever. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to say that the class of 2026 is now operationally ready for our duties and for our dreams as doctors. Thank you once again for gracing today's ceremony, and for the class of 2026, enjoy your well-deserved break and see you all in the wards. Thank you.
Thank you to our class speakers for representing your fellow graduates with humility, humor, and heart. Our graduates indeed inspire us, and we'd like to now present a short video showcasing a snapshot of the values and drive that has brought them to today's milestone.
In medicine, our journey began at the bedside. With a question we asked ourselves on day one: what more can I do for this patient?
It's in the details, where every measurement and every calculation brings us closer to life-changing solutions. It's in the discipline we've built. Every decision began to carry the weight of a life depending on it.
It's the power of connection, turning ideas into impact and conversations into breakthroughs.
It's the courage to challenge the status quo and innovate, knowing that we can do better for our patients, and understanding that learning never ends.
The journey begins with a question: how can I make a difference? It's in the quiet moments, a listening ear, a reassuring presence, where care is felt, not just given.
Different paths,
but one shared purpose:
To serve with courage,
integrity,
compassion,
and collaboration.
We are
The future of medicine
and this
It's just the beginning.
Our MD graduates, now fully fledged doctors, are only a few weeks away from the privileged position of taking care of patients. As a symbolic ritual and a grounding reminder of commitment to service, these graduates and any so willing physician in the audience will shortly be invited to recite the Hippocratic Oath. Leading the oath today is Professor Suki Chi, who is a visionary leading surgeon, founding director of the National Cancer Center Singapore, former senior vice dean at Duke-NUS, and the Benjamin Shears Professor in Academic Medicine, and the recipient of several national honors and awards. Prof. Su's sphere of influence is such that in his case, the notion of 6 degrees of separation is more like a 1/6 of a degree. Chances are he's operated with us, on us, or on someone we know. He's educated, mentored, and inspired us to act with integrity, to advocate for others, and to think big. And in the context of our own very school, Duke-NUS, the impact of Prof's advocacy is evident in the school's founding and the partnerships that have driven our academic medical center today. These accolades have not kept him from making time to teach our students, and our graduating class, as you heard earlier, have specifically asked that he lead this significant moment. It's my privilege to welcome Prof. Su on stage.
I'm delighted to be invited to read the Hippocratic Oath with you. As you know, I have special affinity for Duke-NUS and also for the students, maybe no longer students, the doctors. I've heard many of your stories. You know, in my teaching sessions, I do ask you where you're from and so on. And today must be especially sweet for you because it has been at least 8 years for most of you and probably many more for some others. Many of you will be tempted to think that maybe I can stop learning now since I'm no longer a doctor. But let me let you in on a secret. See. You will never stop learning, and you cannot stop learning. And for a reason that I will come to in a minute. In the first instance, your senior colleagues, they are keeping an eye on you. They'll be watching you like a hawk. And many of you, after being pampered in a medical school, will realize that it's not really quite the same in the clinics. Some will be thinking that, why am I subjected to verbal and emotional abuse? Actually, in our clinical parlance, it's known as tough love. You will learn from them because from now on, you are no longer the center of the world. In your practice, the patient is the center of the world. And their focus is on you being a good doctor, but the patient making out and succeeding and living through the episodes. So you'll be learning from your senior colleagues. You will also be learning from patients and their relatives. You will encounter a lot of pain in your patients. You will encounter successes, triumphs. But the thing that impressed me as a doctor was the love of the family members. How filial the children, the spouses are to the patient's concern. So you'll learn many life lessons from them. The third thing that you will learn from would probably be that hopefully we have taught you self-reflection. And most of all, you'll be learning from yourselves as you go through the experience now of being a doctor. And that's a good reason why we want you to continue learning. The reason is because society through the school has conferred on you the highest privilege, this privilege of looking after the lives and the health of the people in the community. There's so much potential for good, and you will find it especially fulfilling. But equally, there's a potential for mischief. There's also potential for harm. And so therefore, for this great privilege, you have an awesome responsibility, you see. And that social contract that the society has conferred to you is expressed in this Hippocratic oath, an oath of ethical conduct, which we would be expecting of all of you. Now, the Hippocratic oath, I read the original version, or at least the translation of the original version, and it's full of religious symbols. We have secularized the oath, but it's equally as sacred, even though it is secular. And when I read through the original version, and also the revised one, 6 principles or 6 precepts leapt to my mind. The first, and I like this one, you need to have deep reverence for your teachers. a loyalty to them for the sacrifice that they've given to you. But I would extend that to even more than just the teachers. You need to have deep loyalty to your alma mater. Remember the spring when you drink the water. Many of you will become people of great prominence. You will have great influence, and some may even have great wealth. May I suggest that you come back and complete that virtuous cycle of higher education, that you contribute back for what the others have contributed to you. So we will recite this Hippocratic oath. But remember, this is the moral compass that will be part of you for the rest of your professional life. Now, in my other role as a trainer in surgery, I often tell the trainees, take the spare ligatures home. I want you to tie the knot 1,000 times with the right hand and 1,000 times with the left hand. I'm not expecting you to repeat the oath 1,000 times, but the message is the same. What is important in medicine needs to become second nature to you. And there's nothing more important to be the second nature to you than this oath that you're taking. It is, as I say, the moral compass that you will have to adopt as second nature as you internalize what it means to take the oath for the rest of your life. So I invite you all to stand, and if you will repeat after me, not with me, but after me. Okay? I do solemnly swear by whatever I hold most sacred that I will be loyal to the profession of medicine and just and generous to its members, that I will lead my life and practice my art in uprightness and honor, that into whatever home I shall enter, it shall be for the good of the sick and the well, to the utmost of my power, and that I will hold myself aloof from wrong and from corruption, and from tempting others to vice, that I will exercise my art solely for the cure of my patients and the prevention of disease, and will give no drugs and perform no operation for a criminal purpose, and far less suggest such a thing. That whatsoever I shall see or hear of the lives of man, which is not fitting to be spoken, I will keep inviolably secret. These things I do promise, and in proportion as I am faithful to this oath, may happiness and good repute be ever mine. The opposite if I shall be forsworn. Thank you. You may be seated. On behalf of the physicians in the audience, I welcome you all to this most noble of profession, that of medicine. It's a royal priesthood. It is a priesthood of caregivers. Welcome. Thank you.
Well, class of 26, you've heard from influential leaders and inspiring speakers. There's little more to say, but congratulations. May your lifelong service to others be a credit to yourselves and to those who gave of themselves to raise you, shape you, and sustain you. And now I invite our dignitaries, faculty, and graduating class to join the ceremonial procession. And to our other guests, we respectfully ask that you please rise and wait for the procession to exit, after which we warmly welcome you at the reception outside. On behalf of all of us at Duke-NUS, thank you for joining us today. This concludes our ceremony.